Good morning, good day, good afternoon, whenever you're watching this video. Today's video is a bit different, as I didn't film it. It's a recording from the event that I already spoke about in my Chainlink video, the Chainlink panel that I did with Quinten François and Michaël Van De Poppe, both KOLs in the cryptocurrency Web3 space. This happened at the Ethereum CC in Brussels a while ago. The event was amazing. We talked about how to or how not to approach influencers and how one specific Chainlink build projects, but just anyone that wants to use influencers or KOLs for their Web3 projects. And yeah, it's the recording of it. This is a bit different. I will be back this weekend with a new video. The next video is going to be super exciting as I have an interview planned with someone. But for now, enjoy this one and I'll see you, well, in the next video.
All right, thank you everyone for coming. My name is Keanu. I've been into crypto since 2018 and ever since also working closely with Chainlink or doing stuff around Chainlink. So I'm very happy to be here and be able to host together with my two good friends here, Quinten and Michael. Before we start, gentlemen, can you please quickly introduce yourself and give like a quick brief explanation on who you are and how you are involved in the Web3 space? Let's start with Quinten.
Hi, yeah, that works. It's really good. Positive. Okay, so my name is Quinten. I've been full-time in crypto since 2017. I started off with YouTube, but a few years ago I transitioned to mainly X. I've been in Chainlink since I think 2018 or 2019. I'm actually not sure anymore. A long time already. And I've also wrote a book and I co-founded a Web3 startup called WeRate. So that's me.
I'm Michael. For the people who don't know me, I'm from Amsterdam. I'm in crypto since 2017. And I had a company which was a trading group, which I quit a year ago, in which we've got multiple companies right now. So we've got a venture capital, we've got a consultancy and asset management firm, and a marketing agency. I'm in Chainlink since, well, I guess a few months after you joined Chainlink, because you introduced me to it. Heavily supporting Chainlink on social media, not really supported by entire CT all the time, but still supporting and going strong.
Awesome. So Michael and Quinten, they have quite a lot of followers on their social media, so definitely check it out if you haven't already. And today, as announced, we're going to talk about how you can approach or how you shouldn't approach influencers in, Web3 space and markets. So the first question I have here for you gentlemen is, how do you see the role of influencers in a Web3 ecosystem, and what impact do you believe that influencers have on the adoption and growth of Web3 technologies? Maybe this time, Michael, you can start.
Well, I think the main role is to just provide reach for the actual use case of the project. I think that should be it. As a matter of fact, most concerns are on making money or prices, all those things, and many projects that are unethical are actually also focused on that. But I think the core role is to provide reach, exposure, and all those things. That should be it.
Okay, Quinten, anything to add to that?
I also think to a certain extent, especially smaller team projects, let's say it like that, that launch their project. I think for these ones, KOLs can really like make or break even a project. Of course, the bigger ones that are launching, that's a very different thing. But I think KOLs carry a big responsibility there, because they can definitely like do damage or do very good for the project.
Yeah, definitely. And we are currently, I could say, we are in a strong market. It's very volatile still, but as everyone knows, markets move in cycles. And you have moments in cycles where more people enter the markets than usual, usually when price action is really strong on the upside. With that, I assume you guys get a lot of new DMs of new projects that are entering the space. How do you, from your perspective, what are some of the best ways that these projects could approach you in DMs, or maybe not in DMs, maybe through email? And how do you filter these these projects? Yeah,
Starting with me now? Okay. So I think there are several ways to do it, but I'm going to talk from my personal perspective, how I come in touch with projects, and it is especially via agents. So that's like individual people that work with projects, or these can be like people from VCs. But I work with these people because if you simply have a look at your inbox in your emails, there's like every month hundreds of them. And if you want to do like your due diligence on all of these projects, then that's already a full-time job on itself. So you want someone that is actually doing some filtering for you already. And that's why it's better, in my opinion, to also as a project to try to approach the KOLs via agents or VCs. I think that is the most important thing. You can also do, of course, like a cold outreach, but then you need to make it like very personalized, because like most of these emails are like very standard emails. Or the thing that, for example, happens with me a lot of times is that they say like, oh, I love your videos, but I don't make videos anymore. Then you know, like, okay, they had a quick look at my YouTube channel. They see I have a YouTube channel, but they actually don't know anything. So they didn't even like take the time to look at what I'm doing. So it's not personal at all. So I think that there is a possibility that you will get like a good response, or like that I work with a project that comes into my mailbox, but it's rather unlikely.
Yeah.
To be fair, the personal touch goes both ways. So I think the project doesn't know anything about the KOL, and the KOL doesn't know anything about the project. Having that as a thesis is basically where the market is at this point. That's why I've been working with agents as well, or agencies, and there has been some social media posts the past period about that. But I think agencies are fine, but agencies are, most of them, also primarily focused on making as much money as possible. So I think we need to have a shift towards fundamental progress, whether or not through regulation or not. So in my opinion, for myself, I am starting to drive away from agencies, become a VC investor with a project, and combine that with long-term, well, I would say partnerships. So I think through that, I can make a larger impact to the projects than having a KOL round being raised by a smaller project, and then the KOL just disappears if the price doesn't do anything. But if you think about that, then the KOL should be supporting regardless of what the price does. It should be about what the project is building. And that's still to be decided, and we need to go there. So I think that the markets are very early in that sense, and still need to mature quite heavily before projects are on spot one and not the agencies and the KOLs themselves.
If a company or an agency approaches you, if a company or an agency approaches you, what are the first things you look at for a project or in a project?
Whether it fits into our verticals, that's step one. Second step is having a call. And then I've got a team, so I don't need to do that myself, but the team is scanning it through an entire process. And then we, like 90% it's just, we don't take those deals. A small part we do, and with the VC even a smaller part. So taking those deals or those partnerships required a lot of DD and a lot of work from both sides to make it work, but then it becomes personal. And what I get back from projects that we work with is that they like to have that contact and to have a touch with what you're doing, also have an influence in what you're doing. And by doing that for a longer period of time, you get a higher impact, and that's how we do it.
And Quinten, and maybe a question for you as well. When you get DMs from projects or VCs, what are some of the common mistakes or red flags that you notice the most in such messages or projects that approach you?
I think I already touched on this a little bit, because I think the biggest mistake that projects make is if they do cold emailing, which I would not recommend, then they should make it personal. That is, I think, the most important thing. If something is not personal, or if there's like even mistakes in the email about who you are because they didn't look you up enough, then yeah, then I'm definitely already not going to do it. So I think that is actually the biggest mistake that that projects can make. Yeah, but I think like what I wanted to add to what Michael said is it always comes down to that 80% of the deals that you take as a KOL comes via personal recommendation. And either that is the agencies that we talked about, which of course also have their disadvantages, such as what you also said. Right now you see like certain groups of KOLs working with these agencies, and then it's always the same group of people promoting a new project that is coming on, and then the community quickly turns away from that as well, which I understand. But I think like also like the personal recommendations for good projects can also just come, for example, from other KOLs. That also happens quite a lot lately. But I think that is the most important thing. Like, keep it personal. Either go for a personal recommendation or introduction via someone, or cold emailing, do it personally, do it in a very personal way as well.
Do you sometimes reach out to companies yourself? If you see, oh, that's a very cool project, I want to work with that. Does that sometimes happen when you are the one, the asking party?
It happens, but it doesn't happen a lot. This is like a very small percentage of the cases, but it happened a few times in the past. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing that way more often, to be fair. Because of what I said earlier and what you were mentioning too, it's just a very complex market for projects to get the right KOLs to your own project. So that's why we reach out to them to make sure that we can help them. And given the fact that the entire Web3, or I would say Web 2.5 space becomes more mature, there are more Web 2 people joining the Web 3 space who simply don't know how to do the marketing or anything about the Web 3 space. So I think it's going to a more sustainable market, and everything is being built upon hype and the pump and dump kind of way, in which there's the cycles of 4 years, but when we talk about ecosystems and their hype narrative, it's usually a window of 1 year. So from the VCs, you get like the push to launch at a specific period in time. From the KOLs, you get a different push. From the agencies, you get a different push, and it's all about money. Well, if you look at ETC and all the projects that are building here, most of them have a horizon of a decade or like a longer period of time. So the significance of those KOLs is going to be there, but the requirement of them to join the project is going to be partnering for a longer time instead of that short-term window. So I think with KOLs, it's going to be a shift.
And do you prefer a long-term partnership, like a more personal long-term partnership with a project, or like a quick, hey, I post a tweet or a video mentioning your project, and after that we part ways?
I think for both parties it makes most sense to do it long term. So I still did a few marketing campaigns for a few months, but with the VC it's going to be a longer period. So if I am, as an investor, interested in the project and I believe in the vision of the founder, then I'm okay supporting it. The same as with, I've never been sponsored by Chainlink, but I believe in the vision of Chainlink, so that's why I keep posting about it. And I think that should be fine. So I think if we talk about that specifically, KOLs can either get a marketing deal or just a long-term investment, just like any VC has. And we would like to have more VC investments to actually advise the projects themselves how they can navigate into the Web3 ecosystem.
Okay.
But I also think that the projects can actually have, or like has a way better chance of getting you on board for longer term if they also invest in you, right? Like with some projects that I invested in personally, and also do some promotion for because I own it, I've never talked to the team. I only talked via the agencies or agents, and like if this team is not even trying to get like to build a personal relationship with you, then you're more quickly going to say like, okay, this is a quick thing anyway. I mean, like, yeah, because you don't feel like any connection to the heart of the project, which is the team.
That's why I don't invest through those agencies anymore. As in, they are, if you really run the numbers, they are the big winners of those rounds, and not the project.
Quinten, you mentioned that you prefer that other projects should also invest in you. What are some of your preferred ways that projects could invest in you as a person or as an influencer or as a company?
I want to give 2 examples here. The first thing I think about is Binance. So I've been supporting Binance since they actually started in 2017, July or August was that. And actually I've been like talking about them quite a lot, and I invested in BNB coin, etc. This was not like a thing that they paid me, but they appreciated my support, which turned into some kind of partnership eventually, but it didn't start like this. But they like along the way, for example, they send you merch, they ask you for like Binance Blockchain Week in Dubai, in Paris. They invited me to speak at their 5-year anniversary. Like these things, and also because you get to know like a lot of people from the team, these things are like an investment from the side of the company into you. Like it's not about purely giving you like returns or whatever. It can be like very small things. But a second example of a lot smaller company that I think of is Exceed Me. That is one that I invested in 2021, but I quickly built like a really good relationship with these people. I also like it's a Web3 gaming platform, by the way, where you can play like normal video games such as Counter-Strike. And I'm like a huge Counter-Strike player myself. So what they did is like, they said like, hey, Quinten, we're organizing a live stream tournament with pro players, and you can join and you can take over like the Twitch account of Exceed Me. So that's one of the things they did, and I of course, like it's all. I don't ask anything for that to spend my time there, because I think it's really cool and it's a cool way to support a project, and they get you involved in it. And then a few months later, they invited me to their event in Portugal, and I could play on stage some Counter-Strike with some pro players and talk in some panels and so on. And I think these are the things that really build a good long-term partnership. So if they're coming out with good news now, like 3 years later, even though my bag is not doing well anymore, I'm still be willing to talk about it, because I respect these people, they're still working on it, and they did also like a lot of extras for me. So I think that is the way to go.
Okay. Michael, can you give an example of a partnership that you did with a project that went really well, where you felt like the returns of that was way more than you originally expected?
Well, I've got a project that I'm currently working with, which is Alchemy. Very intense partnership, but as Quinten has mentioned, they invited me over to a few events in the UK. They're going to invite me over in October to Cebu Live as well. And I think overall, what is the important part with the project that I'm working with is that it's recognition both ways. So it's a personal relationship that you have with the project. It's not about just posting content, but it's also just complaining how bad their team is playing at the European Cup. Not referencing to the Belgian team, though, by the way. So just like the personal relationship that you would like to, you don't need to mute me, by the way. If, just a personal relationship that is actually active instead of going through third parties. So you don't need much, but those small touches, that's how a relationship is being built up. And it doesn't mean that the project needs to be going through the roof or is actually going to flourish. It's it's tech, so it can die down quite quickly, but just having that.
Do you believe that there are instances where a cooperation between an influencer and a project could actually harm the ecosystem?
Yeah, it's depending on which KOL you take, but also on what topics you talk about. Quite often, as I said, it's about the price, and I think that should just be going away and it should be about the fundamentals, and then everybody is more happy about it. But if it's just totally about the price, then, for instance, a few projects that have been launching their token and have done a KOL round, and now the markets destroyed their project. Like, the markets are relatively bad at this point. Nobody wants to talk about the project anymore. And you start to wonder why. It's about the price. So I think if there is an instance, or if a project is being connected with the KOL and you take the wrong KOLs, it can harm your project.
Yeah, understand, definitely. So, well, thank you very much. I'm going to, before we're going to go into a little Q&A where people can ask questions to our influencers here on stage, I want to ask a little closing segment where if you'd be so kind to give like a few tips or tricks on how the build projects here in the room or any other project could reach out to influencers, or how they can start working together with influencers, maybe like in bullet points, or any little advice you can give to the people in the room. Quinten, maybe you can...
Yeah, so basically it's a summary of everything I said, I think. So first of all, try via a personal introduction. So either that is a KOL that you meet on an event or so, which is also, of course, a very good idea. And ask this person, like, hey, do you know other KOLs that might be interested? The personal introduction is really good. Or work with agencies, that's a really good tip as well. And if you do a cold email, then make sure to make it personal as well. So I think a personal approach is always the best one. That is, I think, a bottom line, one of the bottom lines today. And I think, like, yeah, invest in the relationship with the person as well. Like, put some effort into it. If you're organizing an event, ask this person over. Just spend some time chatting with this person. Jump on a call if you have like a deal with someone. Whatever. Like, just put some effort into it. I think that's also very important if you want to have this support from the KOL for the long term. I think that is for me personally, the most important points for today. Maybe you want to add something?
Well, I said it before I went on stage. I think ECC is a great example of what builders are doing, and the difference between KOLs and builders. I think, aside from us, there are a few more KOLs here, but it's relatively calm. Which means that KOLs are not interested into ECC. They are more interested into commercial stuff like token and then going to fight night, which is also fine, but it's a different approach. I think the best way to get into contact with KOLs is that connect with them on events. That's why I am here. That's why Quinten is here. Second thing you could do is personal introduction through email or whatever. Or you work with VCs that have proven to do right when it comes to KOLs. And the same with agencies. But then if you work with VCs and agencies as a third party, make sure you get into touch with the KOLs themselves through calls and through messages, instead of letting the third party take over. Because if you pick the wrong third party, you've got a lot of risk on your shoulders.
All right, well, thank you so much. I'm going to give the microphone to Romain. Oh, he already has one. Perfect, for the audience to ask any questions